So, you've ordered a DamienSaber Xenopixel lightsaber. You've learned all the functions and features from my previous video, and now you want to know how do I add more sound fonts, music, sound effects, and really tinker with the configuration. Well, I'm going to show you, so let's go. Welcome back to all my Jedi and Sith companions. I am your host, the Frugal Jedi. If this is your first time visiting my channel, thanks for coming, and please don't forget to click that like, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you can stay up to date whenever I release new content. Last week, episode 5, part 1, we looked at the Xenopixel lightsaber by DamienSaber, and I showed you all the features and functions it can do, and there was so much. So cool. Today we're going to be looking at the SD card inside and how to add new sound fonts, music, sound effects, customized character profiles, lots of cool stuff. So I think we should point the camera down at the table and I'll quickly show you how to take the SD card out of the Saber and get it ready for the computer. First thing is unscrew the grip. You can see the SD card right in there. Before removing it, you want to remove the battery just so you don't accidentally damage the SD card. Easiest way to remove the battery is by tapping the metal against your hand. I never recommend tapping the core on a table because you could crack the core or it could bend. So just a couple of taps. And there it goes. We'll put that off to the side. To remove the SD card, it's a little tricky. You can try using your fingers, and look at that, I actually got it out. If you can't use your fingers, the other way is to use tweezers to pull it out. Okay, so now that the MicroSD card is out, we're going to put it into the adapter. In case you're wondering, this is 16 gigabytes. And there is a lot of space on there to add more stuff. Okay, clicks in. So now we're going to take this to my computer and plug it in.
I don't know that.
Thank you, Alexa. Take your micro USB adapter and plug it into a USB port on your computer. The adapter will blink as it reads the files, and you just have to be patient the first time. It'll show up as USB drive. So click on there and you'll see all the folders that's on the MicroSD card. Before doing anything, the first thing you should always do is back up the original files. So select them all, copy, back them up, I recommend backing them up into more than one location. Cloud storage is also good. So I'm just going to wait for the files to finish copying. So while it's copying, each of these numbers represents a sound font. So you'll see folders listed 1 to 34, as well as a folder called set, which I will show you once we're done copying files. Okay, so you can see folders 1 to 34 and a folder called set. As an extra level of protection so I don't accidentally delete the files or change them, I'm going to right click on the folder, go to properties, click on read only, click on it again so you see a check mark, and hit apply. This will make every file read only so you can't delete them. All right. So the set folder has all of the sound fonts that deal with the lightsaber itself and not any character. So let's click on one.
Broken ignition.
So these are the ignition sound effects. Then you have clash on, clash off, the charging sound effect, all the different sounds for volume, motion control, and so forth. You could change these if you want to. So as an example,
Power on.
you could put a different file in there and call it power on, and it'll play that file instead if you want. But I'm not going to do that. If you want to play with that, you're welcome to. Okay, the very first thing after doing your backup is you want to make sure that you have the latest firmware. To do that, you're going to open up a web browser and you're going to go to darkwolfsabers.com/Xenopixel-V2-support. I'll put a link to the site in the description. From here, you're going to click on Soundboard Support and Xenopixel V2. It'll take you to this page. On this page, there are 3 updates: version 1.7, 1.7b, and 1.8. You're going to want to download each of these updates separately, do the update before continuing on to the next one. To do the update, it's not difficult. So let's click on this first one here. It's going to load the contents. It's a big update. You're going to click download, and it's going to bring you to this warning. Hit download anyway, and it'll download the file. So I've already downloaded it. The next step is you have to extract it. I use a program called WinRAR. There are other programs for extraction, but I will link the WinRAR program in the description below. So to extract it, you right click on it and extract to Xeno V17. That'll put all the files into a subfolder. So from here, I go into here. I'm going to take all these files, copy them onto the thumb drive, overwriting the files that are already there. Then you right click, eject, take the microSD card out, put it back in the Saber, put the battery in, and don't turn it on. Just leave it alone. It'll automatically start the upgrade or the update. When it's done, you'll hear
Update successful.
and that means the firmware's been updated. Take the battery out, put the microSD card back into the adapter, back into the computer, and repeat the same steps with version 1.7b and version 1.8. I've already updated my soundboard, so I'm not going to do it again. So now that you've updated the firmware on the soundboard, let me show you each of these folders, every single one. So we're going to waste 2 hours doing this. I'm just kidding. I'm just going to quickly go into the first folder. Now what I've done is I've added a text file. Because these numbers really don't tell you what the sound font is, rather than you having to guess or having to always look and figure it out, I created a text file. So how do I know this is Kylo Ren? When you look down the list, you'll see something called font. And sometimes a profile can have more than one. So when I select a profile on the Saber, it's going to play one of these sound fonts.
Kylo Ren.
So I know this is Kylo Ren.
I'll show you the dark side.
So all I did was I right-click, New, Text Document, and you always want to put an underscore and then give it a name. Like that. Now I've already... Oh, sorry. Rename. Call it Kylo Ren 2.txt. And don't forget about the underscore at the beginning. That way, when you go into the folder, it'll be at the top of the list. I'm just going to delete that one I just used. It did take me a little while to go through every single one of these, but it's better just to get it over with, so this way you know exactly what sound font folder you're in. Okay, I'm just going to find, all right, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So you have the blaster files. These are the sound effects that are going to play when you click the button to do that blaster effect. And you can have different ones, and that's why they're numbered. So it's not going to sound the same every single time you press the button. Same with Clash. The Clash sounds are different, and you have 9 of those built, or more than 9 I should say. You have 16 of those built in. The drag sound font. This is the font when you're choosing Obi-Wan.
Hello there. Your move.
Okay, and there's 3.
Another happy landing. So uncivilized.
So there's 7 different sound fonts. So when you select Obi-Wan as you're going through the sound fonts, it's going to play one of these randomly. It has 2 Force sound effects.
Hello there.
The hum sound effect, 2 different types of in sound effects when the lightsaber retracts, the lock sound effect, and 4 different types of sound effects when the lightsaber extends. Then you have the swing sound effects, swing high, swing low, and lastly is a track. This is music. So let's say you want to add some more music to Obi-Wan, more than just one track. Maybe just the original Star Wars theme. I'm going to go to YouTube. Okay, so there's the main theme.
Sitting ducks ahead.
I'm going to copy the link. And now I'm going to go and use a YouTube downloader. The program that I like to use for downloading songs or videos from YouTube is YouTube Downloader, which is yts1.com, and again I'll put a link in the description. So I'm going to paste the link from YouTube into here, hit convert. And there are pop-ups, you just have to deal with it. And I want to choose MP3, click get link, click download, and again more pop-ups, just close them. Alright, so it finished downloading the Star Wars main theme MP3. And you can listen to it just to make sure. Yeah, definitely the Star Wars main theme. The lightsaber cannot read MP3 files. You have to convert it to a WAV file. And to do that, you're going to use a program that lets you convert files. And again, if you already have one that you like to use it. If you don't and you need one, this one's really good, called Format Factory. It is free, and again, I will put a link in the description where you can download this program. So I'm going to open up Format Factory. I'm going to choose Audio. And I want to convert to WAV, so I'm going to choose that one. And it's asking me where do I want to output the file. I'm just going to output the file to the Downloads folder. Click Add File. Choose the song. Press OK and hit Start. And it plays a sound effect when it's done, which you can turn off as well. Alright, so now you can see the WAV file. That's the one I want. So I'm going to copy this file. Go back to my USB drive. And I made the mistake of closing the folder or not paying attention to what number. Obi-Wan, okay, so Obi-Wan was number 10. And I'm going to paste it here. The next thing is I have to rename it. It has to be called Track. I didn't need to put the .wave. And then in brackets, a number, just like that. So now when we go into Obi-Wan's profile, we can have the Star Wars main theme playing. I also want to add some more of those Force sound effects. It only has 2.
General Kenobi.
I like the fonts as well that could be used as sound effects when you're twisting the lightsaber and pressing the button. So I want to use, let's just say...
Hello there.
Okay.
Hello there.
So font 1 and Force 1 is the same.
Your move.
Okay, so font 2, I'm going to convert that. I'm going to make that a Force sound effect instead. I'm going to rename that one Force 3. And let's hear this one.
Another happy landing. I have the high ground!
Yeah, I like that for a Force sound effect. So I'm going to copy the font 5, paste it, and we're going to rename that one Force 4. The number needs to be in brackets. Don't forget. Okay, that's good enough for now. So you can do that same process with any profile you like. If you want to add more songs, just add more tracks. If you want to add more sound effects, same thing. To add more sound fonts to the lightsaber, again, we'll open up a web browser. And a good place to start is this website here, sabersourcing.com. And I'll link that in the description. So here are a whole bunch of different links for sound fonts. So there's an Ahsoka Tano inspired sound font. You have Grayscale fonts. Grayscale fonts has a lot of cool fonts. They have 16 different free ones. So let's start with that one. And you can listen and see how they sound. Oh, that sounds cool, so let's download that one. From here, you're going to have a bunch of different options. Asteria, CFX, Profi, Verso, and Xenopixel. Because this one is Xenopixel, we're going to choose it and click Download. Go into the Downloads folder, right-click on it, extract it. All right, so we're going to take this folder, and this folder has all the files in there. Copy it, go to your USB drive, paste it. And then once that's done, it needs to be renamed. So this is going to be 35. And let's do another one. No, that one's gone. This link here also has a lot of sound fonts. It doesn't have Xenopixel, but you can make Profi board sound fonts work with Xenopixel, just no problem. Okay, it's finished downloading, so let's extract the archive. And have a look inside. So there's all sorts of different sound fonts. Now Mace Windu is one that we don't have. All right, now you notice that it's organized a lot different than how it is on the Xenopixel blade. They actually have it all subfoldered, so we're going to have to make some changes. I'm going to create a new folder, number 36, which will be for Mace Windu. I'm going to create a new text document. Right? And now I'm going to copy the files from here into here. Those are the blaster sound effects. And all the clash sound effects. The in sound effects for the blade. The out sound effects. Now stab is a feature that Profi has that Xenopixel doesn't, so I'm not going to copy those. The swing high, the swing low, the swing, the font, the hum sound effect, the lock sound effect, the drag sound effect. Again, Xenopixel doesn't use boot or nlock. Alright, so now we have all the files for Mace Windu. We just have to rename them. So let's have a look at another folder and you can see how they're supposed to be named. So BLST01 is not going to work. It needs to be Blaster. The fastest way to do this is just to select all the files at once, right click, rename, and just type Blaster. It'll automatically add the number in the brackets if you're using Windows 10. I'm not sure if this works on Windows 11, but maybe someone can let me know in the comments. We'll do the same for Clash, selecting all the Clash files, right click, rename, Clash. Drag, well there's only one drag, so drag 1. Same with font. And the hum. And the in. Oh. Lock. Select all the out files, rename. This should just be called Swing H. These should be Swing L. Now you're noticing that I don't see any files that are just called Swing. They're all either Swing H or Swing L. So you know what? We're not going to use these ones then. Alright, so there we have a Mace Windu sound font. We can hear what it's going to sound like when we switch to
This
it.
party's over.
What the out sound is like. Hum. And we can add a song to this if we wanted to. We could even copy songs from other folders and put it into this one. But that's fine, we can just leave it like that. Alright, so now we have a Mace Windu sound font installed. It's number 36. I want to be able to switch to Mace Windu and have the color set the way I want and have the blade set to pulse, and I can even set the speed that the blade extends and retracts. To do that, you have to go into the set folder and open up the config file. You want to make sure you open it with Notepad. Okay, it's going to look like this. It's going to turn word wrap on. All right. And it warns you before you change the data, make sure you save an original. You don't want to touch this number here unless you're using a 32-inch blade. It tells you right here. Default 92 centimeters, which is the 36-inch blade. So you leave pixel number alone. This is for double-bladed sabers like Darth Maul, or for crossguard like Kylo Ren. Again, we're not going to touch that. Power on and power off times. And these are all in milliseconds. So 2000 milliseconds is 2 seconds, and 10,000 would be 10 seconds. How long to wait before the saber turns on when you hold the power button? So in this case, 2 seconds. power off time, you have to hold the button down for 10 seconds. We can shorten that. I'm going to set it to 5 seconds. The pre-on times. Pre-ons are another way of saying ignition styles. That's what these are referring to. You don't want to tinker with these because they are all set to the sound font that corresponds to them. So for example here. You'll recognize these. So that's the Hunter ignition. So the Hunter ignition takes 2.5 seconds before it's finished. And that just kind of corresponds to the length of the track, which is 3 seconds. So leave them alone. Pre-off override, don't touch it. I'm not even 100% sure what the override does. They haven't mentioned it or talked about it. Side blade delay, again, is for the crossguard or the double blade saber. Don't touch it. Channel volume. I just leave it at 8192. You can play with it, but I find that the volume is fine the way it is. Mixer volume. This is the maximum volume that the Saber will produce. I find 1900 a little low. 3500 for me is just right for high volume. And don't go over 4500 because it tells you can destroy the speaker. You can adjust the sensitivity of the clash. I just leave it the way it is. Now this next section is really neat. The pulling, stabbing, pulling motion on off. So stabbing means when I stab with the saber, it'll turn the saber on. And a 1 means it currently is on and 0 is off. So I can stab, turn the saber on, but I can't stab and turn the saber off because that would be silly. Twist power on off. In some of the other RGB lightsabers, I talked about how I didn't like the fact that you could twist your wrist and accidentally turn off the saber. Well, here you can turn off the twist power off function. So that way, if I set that to 0, the only way for me to shut off the saber would be to press the button. So I'm going to set that to 0. Twist sensitivity. Bigger number, more sensitive to the twist action. Swing power on, off. So if you want to be able to turn the saber on while swinging it, number 1 means on, number 0 means off. And just remember that for everything. 0 is off, 1 is on. And again, sensitivity. Higher the number, the more sensitive it is. All right, the next section is the one I really want you to look at here. Each one of these lines represents one of the sound fonts. And you're going to have 34 lines. It'll say color 1 to 34. And that represents each one of these folders. I've added 2 more, which is that Coda sound font and Mace Windu at number 36. I want to set Mace Windu so that it automatically will be purple, it'll be pulse, and it'll have scavenger ignition, for example. I also want the blade to extend slowly and retract more quickly. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to take one of these lines, highlight it, and copy it, and paste it. Change the number, and do it again. All right, don't leave blanks. I'm pretty sure the config file will automatically make a line, but just put one in there. Doesn't hurt. Alrighty, so 36, Mace Windu. What's in the brackets here is the color of the blade. Red, green, blue values. Now how do you know how to adjust those numbers to get the color you want. Well, the easiest way is you go online and you can go to a free RGB color wheel. So this one is colorspire.com/RGB color wheel. And you just play with it and find the color that you want. So let's do this purple. It shows me that red is 255, green is 0, and blue is 239. And I'm sure if I manipulate the numbers, it'll change it as well. So right there is pure purple. So in my text file, let's move it over so you can see. Red is 255, green is 0, and blue needs to be 255. Alright, so now Mace Windu will have a purple lightsaber when we select it. The next thing is this number here. That number is the light effect, and it shows you right here, the light effect of each font. And it tells you what each one is. So Fireblade would be 0, Steady is 1, Pulse is 2. I want Mace Windu to have Pulse, so I'm going to change that number to 2. The next value is the speed that the lightsaber will extend. The higher the number, the slower it'll extend. So that's 1 second. I want to make that slower, so I'm going to change that to 1200 milliseconds. This is the speed that the blade will retract. And I want it to retract, let's say, twice as quickly as it extends. So we're going to cut that in half. So 600 milliseconds, 0.6 seconds. Lastly is this number. This number is the style of each font. And it shows you again, 0 would be a standard blade, blaster blade, ghost blade. Then the prions. They should really call them ignition types. So ignition type 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you're not 100% sure what those ignition styles are, remember you can go back and listen to them. So Prion 7 is actually number 9. Because remember that standard, blaster, and ghost is going to be up here. They're ghost, standard. Okay, so Prion 3 would be number 1. Okay, I'm just going to do the scavenger ignition. Now, if I remember correctly, it should be this one. No, it's not that one, or maybe it was. Yeah, that is scavenger ignition. So I want to use this prion. Now remember, it's not the number 6 in this case, it would be number 8. That is a little convoluted, but that's just the way it is. All right, now I'm going to save this. And close it. Now, the next time I put the microSD card back into the Saber, it's going to create a file inside Mace Windu's folder. It'll be called Config. And I believe I already have one in the Obi-Wan folder. So that config file is automatically generated. You don't have to do anything with it. This just tells the Saber how to set all the values for color, blade type, speed of the blade, and so forth. If you are going to be making changes to that config file in the set folder, so let me just open it up again. And let's just go back to Obi-Wan. Okay. So if I'm going to make changes, so for instance, maybe I'm going to make a change to the lightsaber. I want it to extend slower. You have to delete the config file inside of the folder and then save the config file in the set folder. The reason you need to delete the config file is from the sound profile folder is that it won't auto-generate a new config file if it already sees that there is one that already exists. So now next time, again, when I plug the microSD card back in, it'll generate a new config file in Obi-Wan's folder with the new settings for the blade. That pretty much wraps up what you can do with the SD card. There are 3 more things that are kind of in the works. They don't talk about it, and I haven't been able to find any information about it, but they're called special pre-offs, and there are 3 of them. One is included with the Soundfonts Cyber Terror, and it's called pre-off. The pre-off does a special lighting effect and sound when the blade retracts. I have not been able to figure out how to make it work with sound in other profiles. It does the special type of blade retraction, but the sound won't play. Again, if anyone does know how to get it to work, please leave a comment, let me know. I think that's good enough for now. There's a lot you can play with on here. I mean, I could spend hours and hours and hours downloading sound effects and music and more sound fonts. And you can buy more sound fonts too. There are lots of stores out there that sell sets of sound fonts, and they're pretty cheap. You know, there's some really nice ones out there. Okay, so for now, we're going to be done, and we're going to take the microSD card, plug it back into the lightsaber, test out the new Mace Windu sound font and the Coda sound font. We'll check out the Obi-Wan profile and see if the blade out speed is slower, and if it should have the new Star Wars theme music for one of the tracks. So to remove the microSD card, you should never pull out your adapter. You should always right-click on it, click eject. Currently in use. Yes, it's currently in use because I have the folders open. So I'm just going to click a different folder, click eject, and now we can remove it from the computer and put it back into the lightsaber. So we'll test Obi-Wan first. Slow blade. Try the force effects.
Hello there. Your move. I have the high ground.
And we'll check the music. And it worked. Okay, next we'll check Mace Windu.
This party's over.
Everything works nicely. There's all the effects. Perfect. And we'll check the last one, which was called Coda. There it is. No force effects in this one, but you know how to add them. Yeah, that sounds really nice. Very cool. And finally, we're at the end. 2 parts, totaling over 1 hour. I hope you didn't fall asleep through all that. There was a lot to go through, but I'm sure if you did watch it all, you know the ins and outs of this saber like the back of your hand. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to click that like button, hit subscribe, and tap the bell. Till next week, this has been your host, The Frugal Jedi. Thanks for watching.